comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So the plumbers were here first thing in the morning today to put my fucking drainage holes in. That, I'm gonna have to admit, I'm not 100% confident in anymore. The other day after I went on that fucking tirade at that builder about saying there's a crack in the slab and all this sort of shit, after almost throwing him off the fucking top of the roof, it rained the very next day. It fucking pissed down the very next day. So I got on the roof in this fucking squall like Lieutenant Dan to see what was going on. And 110% without a doubt, there's a massive crack in the slab. I didn't see it the first time. It was fucking dusty up there, all right? It was dusty. And it's exactly where he bent down and said, there's a crack here. And I'm like, hey, don't worry your little fucking head about the crack, mate. Literally, his finger was on the crack, pointing at the crack. If I only looked down, I would have seen the fucking thing. But I was too busy finding fun ways to abuse him in another language. So there is a crack in the slab, but also when I was up there, it was pulling up as well. So I wasn't 100% wrong either. I was like 70% wrong or something like that. But it was still pulling up. There's still nowhere for the water to come out. It just wasn't pulling up as high as I thought it was. So the next morning, I went back on the roof to check this crack out, and everywhere was dry except for this crack. It was still moist running along the crack. And when I went back down to the room, it's still dripping, and it dripped for a full day, which means the water's getting into the slab through this crack, and then it's sort of like building up and taking a while for it to pass through the slab. I mean, it is still possible. It's still possible that my pooling theory is correct and it's getting over the waterproofing. I would give that about a 2% possibility. It's not zero, but the crack is the most likely place it's coming from. So when I found that out, I immediately said nothing because my wife saw how much I was going off at this guy and how much I was talking like I was a fucking 30-year building vet. And I just thought the very next day is not the time to bring up that the other builder was right and I was wrong. I just thought I'd put a little bit of distance between my arrogance and my humble correction because I'm not beyond that. I'm humble enough to admit when I'm wrong. Not immediately, and I'm not going to make a big show out of being wrong either. I'm going to slide it in very quietly when no one's really listening. Like I did today when the plumbers rocked up and I was like, fuck, I completely forgot to tell them that we probably don't need that drain right now. What my plan was, I was going to wait for another rainy day, go up there and inspect it again. Well, at least pretend to inspect it. I was just going to stand out there in the rain. And then I was going to come back down and I was going to say, hey, I think there is a little crack in that slab. We definitely need the drain as well because it's pulling up, but there seems to be a crack. I didn't see it before because it was dusty. It was real dusty up there the other day. But the plumbers were already here and I'm like, oh, fuck, what are they doing? Can you send them back? I was just going to wait for another rainy day. And my wife's like, well, they're here now. We might as well get it done. I'm like, yeah, good point. Yep. So we get on the roof and these guys are like, where do you want the drain? And I hadn't really thought that through since I discovered the crack. So I was like, probably I need it before the crack. So I just pointed about 6 inches from the crack and I'm like, yeah, just chuck it there. And here's the masterpiece. When I was pointing to tell them where to put the drain pipe, they weren't really understanding me. So I said to my wife, I'm like, can you tell them this? Can you tell them there's a crack running through the slab here? We need the drain to be about 6 inches or so away from the crack so the water doesn't pull up over the crack. And she explained it. I think she forgot that I was saying there's no crack the other day. I think she thinks I found the crack because no one even reacted after I said crack. I'm like, there's a crack here, but don't worry about that. It just needs a little bit of waterproofing and that. I'll do that later. But we need this drain here. Honestly, if I'm going to be honest again, I have no idea if that drain's even going to work. It was definitely pulling up. Water needed to escape, but the roof is so fucking uneven, it sort of slants in all different directions. I think it will do something. It will definitely do something. It will let some water fucking escape, at least a little bit, tiny bit. But now I need to waterproof the crack on the roof as well. It's probably about 2 meters long. I'm going to have to do a little bit of YouTubing for that because it's not a big crack. It's just like a hairline fucking crack, but the water is definitely getting down there. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to waterproof it. The water's going to get back down there. By the time this is all over, I'm going to have built a little fucking shelter over the crack, just the crack. I'm going to have dug out some trenches on either side of the crack so the water runs away from the crack and down the drain. There's going to be a whole little village around that fucking crack by the time I'm done with it. I just hope that builder/family friend never ever comes back around again, ever. You know when you act like such a cunt because you think you're so right, like there's not even a fucking doubt in your mind that you're wrong, so you just lean into it hard. And then later on you realize you were wrong and you're like, well, I would just rather not see that person again in my whole entire life. I mean, I could say sorry, but I would just prefer we never saw each other again for the rest of eternity. Fuck, I hope this drain works. I hope two things. I hope this drain works, or I hope it doesn't rain until we go back to Australia. If I even go back to Australia, I'll probably go to Mexico or Texas or something. Anyway, that's it for tonight. If you have any building inquiries, just contact me on my email. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Alright, that's it for tonight, and I'll see ya the fuck later.